Did you watch T.I.? There's lots of stories out there.
T.I., what's T.I.?
Wait, you were on a TV show? So, how did you guys meet? Obviously, like
She
that.
was single and ready to mingle. You like,
It is.
should you or should you not live?
There's really no right answer, I feel like.
I think there is a right answer.
What's that?
You can't get angry about me, about like stuff that happened on the TV show. You can't get angry about what other people say. Like, essentially, you knew what you signed up for dating me.
What?
No, that one's debatable to me, but
No, it's not.
we're about to fight.
All right, y'all. Welcome to the Talk More with Lore podcast. Today is a very exciting day because we actually have my boyfriend Tyler on the episode.
Let's
so
go.
Welcome, Tyler.
Let's go. Thank you. Honored guest.
Yes, honored guest. Yeah, today's gonna be a fun day of honestly just getting into all things about our relationship. We're gonna be answering some questions that you guys asked on my Instagram and on his.
Yeah, a lot of spicy questions.
A lot of spicy questions, a lot of just honestly just getting to know us and our journey. But first things first, Tyler. I start all my episodes with a silly, goofy thing that happened to you this week. So do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so silly, goofy thing of the week for me. So a lot of you already know this, but if you are a first-time listener, I feel like I have very embarrassing things that happened to me throughout the week. And this week was honestly just like a normal week for me. But I went to this like really weird, not weird. It wasn't weird. It was very eye-opening actually. I went to this like stress relief coach that did like tapping on me. So essentially it was like a 2.5 hour session where I talked to her about like why I was there. It was like kind of a therapy session. I had never been to her before. And so I just kind of like told her what was going on, like told her a little bit of my background and then we spent like the last hour and a half, like she had me like sitting in this chair and she would repeat phrases that I would say that I said to her earlier. And then she would tap me and I would repeat what she would say. And then she would go, breathe in, breathe out.
What do you mean?
Peace.
What do you mean tap you?
Like she would like tap me on like the forehead and like on my face and on my chest. And it's supposed to kind of like, essentially it's supposed to rewire your like brain pathways of a bad memory and putting good memories into that. So it's something that you can actually do on your own in your own time. And so one thing she told me to do when I got home was write a letter as if I was 45 years old. So my future self, write a letter to myself now of who I want to be. Like, this is who I am. This is like what I embody. And then I'm supposed to record like voice memo myself, like read it out loud and listen to it every night.
Do you tap yourself when you listen
so
to it?
No tapping's involved, but it was very interesting. And I finished the session and I was like, what? Like she's like, do you feel high? And I was like, yeah, I feel high. It was weird. But it was really cool.
Yeah, I've seen you tapping yourself at weird moments.
Yeah, I'm just like,
no.
it's just like a twitch.
You okay, babe? That's pretty silly and goofy. Did it feel goofy in the moment?
Yeah, like there was a little part of me that like wanted to giggle, you know, but then I was like, no, I'm here. Like I just decided to immerse myself.
Yeah.
So
I might have to give it a try.
Honestly, you should. Mm-hmm. It really, it's different than talk therapy.
I've written like, when I was younger, I wrote letters to my older self, but I've never like imagined myself being older, written a letter to my current self.
I've never done that either.
That's very, very interesting.
But it's very, she said, if there's one thing you take from this session, do that. It's the most powerful thing you can do. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, sis, I trust you.
Can I read the letter?
I haven't written it yet.
Oh, okay.
But no, you're not allowed to.
I want to read the letter.
What you up to?
I want to see if I'm into this.
45.
Yeah, into this 45-year-old chick.
Yeah. So what's your silly, goofy thing of the week?
Good question. This week has been pretty much all work and business, long to-do list. But I think I don't know if it's silly or goofy, but just from the past couple weeks with the show coming out, like I've gotten recognized a few times, but I was at the grocery store this week and this middle-aged woman, very thick accent, like tapped me on the shoulder and pulled me aside in the middle of the grocery store and just wanted to have like an in-depth conversation about her views of the show and what she
You're
thought.
like, I'm just trying to get my eggs
Yeah,
and leave.
literally, I'm like, we're like standing in the aisle in the way. People are like, excuse me. And I'm like, sorry, we're having a conversation. But she's like, everybody makes mistakes.
She's like,
She
it's
goes, "You're-"
okay.
Yeah, she's like, you're very handsome, but we all make mistakes. It's gonna be okay.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
God.
lady, I'm just fine.
I'm not asking for your opinion,
Yeah.
but thank you.
But it was fun because you could tell like she was emotional about it. Like she took something from it. It wasn't just like just trash reality TV for her.
like it meant something to her.
Yeah, which is why she wanted to like talk about it. But that was pretty goofy and silly. I just walked away being like, what the heck
I feel like
just
you've had
happened?
a lot of those interactions in the past few weeks, just like random people.
Yeah.
He met me at this bar the other week and someone like recognized him in the line and like asked to take a picture with him.
Yeah. Hopefully it was a good photo.
Yeah, you're
I'll
like,
never see it.
you're like, I don't know where that went.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
cool.
goofy.
That's a pretty good
That's
one.
a good way to start a podcast.
I know, isn't it?
It is. Aligns
I'm
to
kind
me.
of proud of that. I came up with that by myself.
That wasn't ChatGPT.
No, that was all me.
Okay.
And I use chat a lot, you guys, but that was me, I promise. Okay, so we're gonna start and just get into it. We're gonna just talk about these questions and just see where it goes. So I guess I'll just start with reading them off and then we can just kind of go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay. So how did you guys meet?
Mm.
Who wants to answer this one?
How or where? Why?
Yeah.
Um.
Do you want to take it on?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
At a pool. Literally through mutual friends. So it was an organic meeting.
Organic meeting.
It was
It was an organic business
we
meeting.
met on Tinder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's actually funny. Wait, before you proceed, like people will ask me where we met, and I'll be like the pool, and I'm thinking back to
what?
my like high school friends. They're like, "What? You guys were just like swimming in the pool, and you just ran into each other like underwater."
We were
Like, what
doing
happened?
laps. I saw her underwater. I was like, wow.
I was like, okay, I guess let's clear this up. I feel like the Soho pool makes more sense because it's such a like social
Yeah.
area or social environment. So yeah, that's where we met.
Yeah.
Soho.
And it was kind of funny because I was there with mutual friends. You were there with mutual friends,
Mhm.
and a few of our friends knew each other. And didn't one of your friends that you trained with say that some guy from just got off of a show or something like that is going to be there?
I was actually at work. Like I went to the pool with a bunch of friends from work because I used to work at a private studio for when I did one-on-one training. And yeah, they were like, okay, we'll see you at Soho later because Tara and I were going together. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. He's like, oh, there's actually going to be this guy there that actually just got back from a show. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, didn't really think twice about it. But like,
She thought twice.
obviously, like
She
that.
was single and ready to mingle.
It's like interesting. I need to investigate this situation.
Yeah,
So
probably
that was
a huge red flag right away.
So when you were sitting there, sorry, I'm stealing this.
But no, go
story.
ahead, please.
But you were sitting there, and so that's when what happened. I like just came up to you and I was like, wait, so you're on a show? Like just genuine conversation. That's just kind of how it started. Because we were all kind of in a group and then went up to you and just was like, wait, so what happened? And then I feel like our conversation just kind of like opened up and flowed from there. Like we talked to me, it felt like we were sitting there for 2 hours talking. I know it wasn't 2 hours, but it felt like we were talking forever.
It was one of those moments where you're in your own bubble.
I was very much sucked into the conversation.
Yeah, everything else kind of fades away. And that's how I remember it. And we started talking about like church right away, kind of our spiritual upbringing, because I think that was our first common ground.
It was.
That we talked about. And probably for like 30 or 40 minutes, you were telling me just about your upbringing and, a non-denominational Christian household and missions trips and
I remember that.
yeah, we just got into it. And so it was great because we didn't. Oh, should we talk about me getting your number?
Oh wait, yeah, we should. So like the whole day goes on. Like I think that was the one thing like that really opened my eyes about you, because obviously like I knew that was the most important thing to me. Like I wanted to find someone that shared the same values and wanted to make sure that you were a believer. And so like when you brought that up without me even asking, it just came up so organically of like, okay, I knew that you were like firm in your faith. I think that's kind of what I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, green flag.
You know,
red flag to green flag,
yeah,
real quick.
And then you were just like babbling about you were very open. You were very open about who you were, and like you weren't, which was really attractive to me, because you were just like, this is who I am. Like you were very just like calm and talked very openly about your divorce. And we were drinking that day, and I was like, I remember you mentioning your divorce, and I was like, wait, what? Like, I was like, did I hear that right?
Yeah.
I was like, how old is this guy?
Let's unpack that.
Yeah. And so, but I really liked how open you were just in who you were, and you're just confident. And
vice versa too, because like it didn't feel like we were like flirting. But yeah, that conversation, like it didn't feel like we were like really flirting with each other.
No.
You know, or it didn't feel like we were.
No,
it was just it was just like this, honestly.
It was very organic.
Yeah, and see, organic meeting. But and then we just kind of started hanging out with other friends after that, because like right before you left, we were talking about Bonnaroo, and you were trying to do something fun that weekend, and you know, you didn't have anybody that was going to go to Bonnaroo with you, and so you were just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it was an invite without an invite, and I was like, oh, I mean, I'll go. I'm down.
So by the end of the hangout session, I feel like, because Tara and I felt bad for my friend Tara. She was just like, Tyler and I were just like talking the whole time, I feel like. And then I was like, I feel bad for leaving Tara. And then we were getting ready to go. And we had spent like probably the last 45 minutes talking about music, and like, because I am a huge music person. Like I love concerts and music, and just obsessed with Post Malone. And so I was saying that like in our conversation, I was like, I really like, I'm dying to go to Bonnaroo to see Post Malone, like, but no one will go with me. Someone please go with me. And you were like, I'll go. And I thought, obviously, it's like this guy I just met. I'm like, he's not actually going to go to Bonnaroo with me.
Yeah. And then you got up to leave.
And I was like, all right, well, nice to meet you guys. Like, Tara and I are leaving.
And then I kind of swim over, and I'm like, well, wait, what about Bonnaroo? And I'm like, you didn't give me your number or anything. And this is in front of everyone. And like everyone heard me like say that. And you go, well, you didn't ask for it. And then awkwardly you get out your phone, and then I got your number.
So I was like about to just walk away. But then I was like, you didn't ask.
Yeah.
So that happened.
And I think it was kind of fun because texting someone new, obviously, that you are possibly interested in, it's kind of weird to like start conversation and talk about things like, what do you talk about? And luckily we were able to talk about like plans, like trying to find friends to go to Bonnaroo with us, because we didn't want to just go alone with each other, because we just met, and that's like a whole trip with a stranger. Yeah,
because it's like,
so like,
it's like an hour away.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm about to like drive in the car with this random like person that I just met. But that was fun though, because that whole week we were just like, we were like, do you want to go? Like, who are we gonna go with? Did you ask Hunter? We were like asking friends, and then finally by the end of the week, like, because we were back and forth, and then finally we were like, okay, let's go on Friday. And then my client agreed to go with her guy at the time, so it was like perfect.
They were kind of a couple, and we obviously weren't.
Yeah,
a couple. So I didn't feel pressure though that it was like a couple's date or anything like that. It was pretty good.
No, because they weren't really dating. They were just kind of like new too. So but then
I was going to talk about Post Malone.
Okay, wait. Yeah.
Well, because I had to like travel to Chicago to work and everything like that, and I sent you a video that I was listening to Post Malone.
Yeah.
acting like I'm this big.
Yeah. You were blasting like Better Now, and I was like, and I'm obsessed with that song, and I was like, oh my god, like this is so fun.
And I was like, yeah, I love Post Malone. He's one of my favorite artists, which is not true. I know like 3 of his songs, and I'm like hyping this up.
We literally get to Bonnaroo, and I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs. I know every word to every song, and I look over at Tyler. He's just sitting
I
there,
just have my
like with
drink,
his
man.
drink. Like, I'm like, do you not know this song?
Yeah.
It's like White Inversion or something. And you're like, no. And I was like, you were just lying the whole time.
It's a little white lie.
You just wanted to go to Bonnaroo.
I wanted you to be excited, yeah.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you totally put me on blast. You were like, that was all just
a
you just
bit,
wanted to
that-
go with me, and I'm like, yeah, I was there for you, not Post Malone.
Yeah. So that was sweet. That was actually very,
yeah.
very cute.
And I would say that was our first date, which is the second question on the list here is like, what was our first dates like? But it didn't really feel like a date because we weren't romantic or.
It was just very like
Yeah.
low stakes. Like we're just hanging out. We're going on this fun concert together.
Yeah, but then
And
our
then-
first real date. Do you want to talk about that? It was pretty intense for a first date.
Yeah, first date was a couple weeks later. We went to Barcelona. It's this wine bar in Nashville. And that was a really like, I feel like I really got to know you because we got deep really fast.
Mhm.
Like one thing that I really liked about Tyler initially was like you asked really good questions and you were very intentional with your words and like you wanted to know like where I stood on like big topics of like, you know, just like my faith or like different things. I feel like we got a lot of the big things out of the way when it came to like boundaries and like just different things like that.
Yeah, because before that, we obviously knew we vibed, I guess is a
Yeah.
good way to put it. Like, you know, and I think we trained and went to the gym before that first date.
Oh yeah,
And so we knew we had common interests, you know, especially with our spiritual beliefs. And so like we both found each other very attractive. So that first date for me was like, all right,
like who are you?
yeah, like, you know, are we going to mesh on a lot of these other levels? And I feel you were super intentional also,
Yeah.
you know, and we talked about a couple of questions that are actually on this list that people were asking, but honestly, 10 out of 10 first date. And we ended
Yeah.
the date hanging out with your friends.
Oh yeah.
So we went back and I got to meet a lot of your friends, and
Oh yeah. I
it was
forgot
good.
about that.
Nothing spicy.
Yeah.
Again, not too romantic. I kind of waited
Yeah.
a long while.
Yeah. Tyler waited like 4 months to kiss me. So
Yeah. I'll play that hard to get game.
yeah, I feel like we really
By the way,
built-
she's not happy that I waited 4
No,
months.
I
by
was
the
like,
way.
when is it gonna kiss me? Yeah, I feel like we really got to know each other before we hit. Like, I feel like we really formed like a strong bond, like a strong friendship before introducing anything physical.
Yeah, and I think that was best because I was going through a lot at the time. Like I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just doing something like stupid and jumping into something,
Yeah,
and I can better explain that later. And I told myself, especially getting off of my last relationship, I was like, I am not dating for like over a year. I was like, I need to, you know, just really take a break. And that was more so because what other people were telling me that I needed a break.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And they could never exactly tell me why. They're never like, oh, I see all these character flaws in you. And the main issue why you can't address these character flaws is because you're in a relationship. Like I never had conversations like that. It was just people being like, you know, don't date for a while. And so I was like, all right. And so we took our time, and I really wanted to make sure, because I also know that you were dating to marry, you know, and
That's like one thing that I feel like I made really clear
yeah.
in the very beginning. Like I've never really been one to just date around just for shits and gigs, you know?
No, you've been on
And
your
so-
dates, but
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
was like, I'm ready to like get married.
yeah, and so when a girl tells me that, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, because
Yeah.
I've learned through my dating experience or just my relationships, like you can really hurt someone by attaching too quick and not having your shit figured out and then pivoting. I mean, just messy breakups and everything. And so I felt after like 4 months of knowing you, I was like, okay, it's okay to get, you know, physical to a degree. And
Yeah.
I think we played that out well, you know, and I think it was very
Yeah, we did.
Organic.
Not the lean in. Okay, let's move on to. So I feel like we got both of these questions on both sides. Like, what is your favorite thing about Lauren? Most attractive thing about Tyler? Do you
Yeah,
wanna go first?
I can take that. Well, favorite thing about Lauren. Um, the first thing that comes to mind is like your honesty and vulnerability. Like not just with the good stuff, because obviously you have a lot of stuff that you're proud about, and you're an amazing person, and it's easy to be honest and vulnerable about that. But you were going through some shit, with some family stuff, starting your business, also just kind of how you had your brain wired at that time and how you thought about stuff, which you're still, working on, and that made it very easy for me to love you because I knew what I was loving. You weren't hidden. You weren't like trying to put up this, front or image. And so that honesty and vulnerability was a lot what allowed me to like really kind of fall into you. So that comes to mind first. Second is your drive for just life and adventure. I mean, and I knew that right away. Like let's go to Bonnaroo. Let's, I'm dating to marry. But you're so ambitious. And that's a hard thing to find in someone because like a lot of people are kind of put down by life, victims, and with you, that's just never going to be the case. And I found that out very quickly. And so obviously I wanted to date to marry also. So I was like, oh, can I hitch my wagon to her? And I would say that's something very lovable about you. And back to what I was saying before about me not really wanting to jump into a relationship. I wanted to make sure that, it was going to be right and take a much more mature approach because my last relationship was just a shit show because, I was just very emotional. I really didn't do my due diligence and making sure I knew where I was, why I was doing the things I was doing, and it created a lot of issues. And so with you, there's just a lot of things that, how do I say this without being cheesy? Like it's very difficult to find things I don't like. Let me put it that way, just to kind of flip the question.
Yeah.
And there's really still nothing that comes to mind, and if there is, we've talked about it, it's stuff that we're going to work on. So you're pretty much perfect and I'm in love. So there you go.
Yeah, guys, I'm just perfect.
No flaws.
Literally zero flaws. Well, that's very sweet. I could ramble on about all the things I love about you, but I think the most thing,
Please ramble.
The bet, yeah. You're like hype me up.
Go ahead.
I think the most attractive thing about you was just your relationship with the Lord. That's definitely what drew me to you. And then just how like emotionally intelligent you were. You're very like aware of yourself and the people around you, and you could like talk about that openly. I feel like you saying that how I was honest and vulnerable, like I felt like that's kind of what I loved about you too, because we could just talk openly about things. Like there wasn't this like.
Yeah, but in all honesty, you inspired me to be more honest and open because I wasn't as honest and open as you were like right away.
Yeah.
Which is why I love that because I saw something in you that I didn't have. And maybe that's just some prideful ego masculine thing.
Yeah.
Trying to, sweep things under the rug to make myself look better.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to derail you.
No, yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like the other thing is, I've always said this about you. My favorite thing about you actually is just how positive you are. Like you have been through a lot of stuff in your life. You've been through like life is hard. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows this. Everyone's going to go through hardships in life and life sucks. There are things that happen to you that aren't fun and aren't fun to talk about and aren't your choice. And you have just never decided to be a victim in life. Like you have always twisted it to be something positive, and you always talk about people in a positive light. And of course, like you're my best friend and we have honest moments with each other. But I think like you are just so, and you inspire me to be better in that way because you're always like, yeah, well, this is what happened to me, but you know what? Like, God is good, and this is what I learned from it. And I don't know. That's just really inspiring to me because I feel like so many of us can oftentimes just complain and cry. And there's nothing wrong with being real and crying about something hard that's happened, but you're like, yeah, like I can be honest about the situation and I can go through the emotions of it, but like I'm choosing not to let it make me cynical or an asshole
For sure.
towards life. I'm choosing to be joyful. And I just saw that in you, like from the very beginning. And I was like, that's someone I want to do life with because I know that down the road, we're going to run into even harder things and we're going to have to navigate that together. And I don't want someone that's going to just like give up and not have hope, you know, like,
Yeah, I mean,
so.
one of the only tattoos I have is just the word favor.
Mhm.
And it used to mean something different, but you know, I take it very seriously. Like when you're saying like all thoughts need to be held captive, meaning, you know, we all have wild thoughts. Crazy stuff happens to us, but you got to wash those thoughts clean. You know what's the correct way to think about something.
Mhm.
And I've had a lot of great mentors and help through the years. But I am very
Yeah.
diligent on all things do work together for the good. If that's easier said than done. But
No, I
I
love that.
appreciate that. Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
glad you noticed that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. The next question. Do we
No,
want to?
what else do you love?
So
No,
let
we
me
can
just
move
keep
on.
rambling on. Okay. What do you want the next one to be? Do you want to just keep going down the list here?
I think we should skip to the fight one, or how do
Okay.
you resolve it? I think that goes well because, I mean, fighting. I mean,
The question says, "Have you had a fight? How do you receive it?"
resolve it.
Or sorry, how do you resolve it? So yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Well, first off, we don't really fight. Like I used to fight in my relationships where it was like you against the other person or me against my significant other. And that's how I used to view like fighting. And then obviously you can say hurtful things and, really cast someone down in order to make yourself feel better. And so when I first read this question earlier today, I was really trying to figure out like how we fight, and like I was trying to think about a fight that we've had. But we haven't had, like, we've had disagreements and very
Yeah.
serious conversations, and we're definitely going to get into that. But is there a fight that comes to your mind, like, that we should talk about?
Yeah, because we've had, like, it's not like we don't, like, we've had fights, we've had disagreements, but we don't. This is something we kind of like talked about because I was like, no fight really comes to mind where I'm like, how, like, you suck. How could you, like, just coming at you, or you've never done that to me. It's never been like a attack on the other person. It's been a problem and we've talked about it, you know?
Because we've had, like, even a couple weeks ago, like, I had to be 100% honest about something that I wasn't 100% honest about.
Yeah.
And you had all the reasons to, fight with me and, be a victim of the situation. But very quickly within an hour of the conversation, we came together and we were on the same team. And then it was
Yeah.
like me and you versus the problem,
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
Tyler's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not the problem. Like, yeah, we've addressed the issue, but like the problem isn't you. The problem is, this external thing that we're facing because we're a team. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that you and I do very well is like, it's me and you versus whatever else is
Yeah.
out there.
And I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing, when I was kind of reflecting on it, was how, and I said this to you already, but just how like we both, I feel like, do a really good job of empathizing with each other. Like if you say something to me, like I receive that. Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. And you'd always do that to me if I tell you, like if I'm honest about how I'm feeling, you'll always be like, I totally understand how you feel. Like
'cause
that makes complete sense.
Because you do, I think with you do have your bad days, and you are more emotional, and I feel like I'm more stoic in a sense, like shit can be hitting the fan, and I'm just the same guy, which is sometimes not the best thing. But with you,
Yeah.
you feel it all. And I feel like in our fights or low
Yeah.
moments, I always try to take the approach of before trying to solve the issue or anything like that, because I really can't solve your issues, newsflash. But just sitting there and telling you, that makes sense, and
Yeah.
just like you should feel that way,
Yeah.
And so there's just not a lot of correction that goes on, in our arguments and fights.
I feel like
Yeah.
you just do a really good job of like empathizing with me and normalizing my feelings, because a lot of times I can have a hard time articulating what I need from you, or like
Mhm.
just voicing what I need in a relationship. But you are like really, really good about being like, well, what do you need from me? Like like you encourage me to like voice that. And that's something really important
And
in a
that,
relationship.
yeah, that gets us out of a lot of tough situations, because I feel like low moments or quote fights we have, it ends with being like, you don't know what you need. You
Yeah.
feel a certain way and you don't know what you need, and I can't give you what you need. And then we leave the conversation and come back, and then you come back being like, okay, this is actually what I need. I'm like,
Yeah.
great,
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it happens pretty
And
quick.
like, of course, there's like that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sometimes what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I feel like a lot of girls sometimes just want their boyfriend or their significant other to just know, and without them having to say it, like what they need,
Oh, yeah,
like they should just automatically know how I'm feeling inside and say what I want them to say without, and like, of
Yeah.
course, like that's like the battle that goes in my head sometimes of like, well, I don't want to have to say this because I want him to just know, but that's not productive, because obviously you don't know what's going on in my
I
head.
have no
And
idea
so I
what's going
have
on.
to, I have to be able to tell you what's going on and what I need from you.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel like we've had those moments where I'm like, okay, let me like think about this. And then I come back and I'm very honest about what I need. And then we always just like, I feel like we just always come back together and we're always like, okay,
Yeah, and
we're attacking this together.
yeah, that prevents a lot of gaslighting, because I
Yeah.
have been in relationships where, they're feeling a certain way and they don't know how it happened. They don't know why they're feeling that way. They don't know how to talk about it. And like you said, I should just know, and it's like, and then they'll treat me a certain way because, I'm not coming to them in the right way, but I have no idea what's going on. And so, I mean, we can
Yeah.
definitely get into the weeds on this one, but just to wrap it up, like the whole fighting thing, like, I've had nasty fights before in my previous relationships,
Mhm.
and so far, we're still pretty early into this. No nasty fights, nothing that's too crazy, which is exciting, and I'm not trying to paint our relationship in a better light than it is, but it is refreshing
Yeah.
to be in a relationship with someone where you're a team, you're honest about your freaking issues, you talk about it, and
Yeah.
you get through it, and
Yeah.
we're in the middle of that right now in a few areas of our
Yeah.
relationship currently,
Right.
where we don't know what we need, but
Yeah.
that's kind of how we're addressing it, is like,
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's really, really well said. And I think, yeah, it's just something that you're always going to grow in.
mhm. And that kind of flows into, someone asked, have you talked about marriage, future, kids?
Yeah.
47
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like to answer the question, yes, we have talked about our future and our marriage and
On our first
everything.
date.
So yeah, literally on the first date. And I feel like that's like, we had to be really, I mean, I had to be really honest about that up front. Like, this is like, hey, I'm dating towards marriage. I'm not just like,
Yeah, we both said at the
and you said the same thing. I feel like we were just on the same page since the
like,
beginning about,
2 to 3 kids,
yeah,
get married. Like, we both didn't want to wait. I mean, we're
Yeah.
getting old,
yeah.
we're 27.
Tyler's turning 28 very soon, which is
Oh,
kind
man.
of crazy. That's kind of old.
I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, let that sink in.
Yeah.
You're like
I'm
contemplating
having
your
a
life
moment
right now.
here. We're probably going to fight about this
Yeah.
later.
you're like really in the abyss right now.
And I
can
have to
tell.
come to you and be like, I'm actually depressed, Lauren.
Yeah.
What I need from you is a time machine. But
No, but I feel like, yeah, someone asked, if we live together, we don't live together. We're kind of, so I moved into my own 1-bedroom apartment and he lives downtown and you have roommates. But I think,
We both have really good living situations.
yeah, we
which is
do.
great.
And we, yeah, so I feel like we're working towards marriage and, you know, we've talked about the future. I feel like that's like a lot of the conversations we have now are because we're planning on.
Well, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on living together before marriage?
So
I know the answer, but
this is like a tough question, honestly.
okay.
So I personally, I think that there's nothing wrong with living together before marriage.
Interesting.
Like nothing wrong like morally about it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I think that it is the most like wise decision not to live together
Mm-hmm.
because I think that marriage is sacred and it's I think that and logically in some ways it's better to not live with your boyfriend even if you know like I'm like certain that you are my person, but like even if you do know that, but you're like just creating like healthy space from each other before you get married of like promoting like internal growth, if that makes sense. Because I feel like there's things that you need to figure out and conversations that you need to have before you get married with each other that sometimes you have to do that alone. And if you live together, you're just always together. You're like, there's really no separation of like alone time.
Yeah. I feel like it definitely is a loaded question.
For you.
For me, I do think, well, it depends on how you're going into the marriage and what the relationship is. But I think as a good blanket rule is that you should probably wait to move in together before, or after you get married. And I forget who it was, but I was listening to a sermon and this guy was talking about how a lot of men just want to test drive girls before they buy the car. You know what I mean? And these men, especially in our culture now, that's what they want to do. They want to test drive it, see if it's a good fit, and then if it's not, move on to the next girl. And the guy on the sermon, I really need to give this guy credit, but he was like, imagine if you had a daughter and you found out that there's guys that just wanted to test drive her before getting married. That's
crazy. That's like a really wild thought.
But it is when you look at it from that perspective, and there are a lot of guys out there. And honestly, like girls want to get married. They want to live together. They want to feel special. So they'll buy into that process.
Yeah.
Like this, no, he loves me. We're going to get married. Like, let's do it, but at the end of the day, it might not be best. So, but again, in our situation, we talked about moving in together before marriage, and we decided not to, for respect out of your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my family doesn't have as strong views on that. So in our circumstance, we did decide not to move in together, till being married. And one last thought about this is like, if you like financially can't move in together, or if there's issues, or like, why aren't you guys married yet? Let's ask that question. If you ask that question, why aren't we married? There's probably things in life that you have to address in order to kind of get to a good spot. So if you haven't addressed those things and you're just hopping into a marriage, so I feel like having this prize of, hey, get through this to-do list, figure this stuff out, and then your prize is a beautiful woman and a house and a marriage. And so I feel like don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
and so I think when
exactly.
you idolize the marriage and you idolize the relationship, especially with God at the center, you have that as the prize. It's way more motivating to get all this other stuff done, to where if you get married, or move in together, you can take your time because like, hey, we're basically already married. And so it takes a lot of motivation out of it. And I think that's why, you have to have this really good hierarchy of values and, prizes that you give yourself for, because that's what being an adult is. It's like
Yeah.
delayed gratification and understanding that, okay, no one's going to give me gifts for doing a good job anymore. I have to give myself gifts for doing a good job. And I view marriage as or moving in together as one of those things, being like, hey, we did it.
Yeah.
Now let's move
It's such
into
a
it.
it's such a beautiful like celebration of a moment.
Makes it
That's
special.
yeah, it makes this. I would agree. And one thing I'll add, and we can move on. Like I have so many of my really, really close good friends live with their boyfriends, and I'm not bashing that. You know what I mean? Like I think everyone does have so many different viewpoints on this, and I think that that's great. I feel like for me, it's like I think what you said is so true. I think in some ways, like in I've seen other relationships fail where it's like they do live with their boyfriend, the relationship fails, they have to move all of their stuff out. Like that is really hard. You know, it's like you're like moving in, like you like you're and then it's also like there's also this argument of like don't do wifey duties for your boyfriend when you're not you're not a wife yet. Like the whole like cooking them dinner, like I've just been friends with girls that are like doing all these wife things for their boyfriend and like packing their lunches for work and stuff, and I'm like,
which is awesome.
Which is awesome, but you know what I mean though? It's like
yeah.
But then it's like I'm thinking about, but then on the other side of that, it's like I think sometimes guys can get lazy if they are living with their girlfriend. They're like, well, we're basically married. There's really no rush in getting married now because we are conjoined in life. And so to your point, I think it's like such a more beautiful thing and such a beautiful celebration when you do wait and you're married and you live together. Now it's like, you know, it's just like it's sacred, and it's like, and to me that's special, and that's why I do love that we're not. But
yeah, because I think we've talked about this, like if you were gonna write the most beautiful story possible that had a climax, a fairy tale ending, like you want to look at your relationship that way. So
yeah,
and that's how I view it. It's like, all right, if we can write the best possible story, how would this look? Let's do that. Let's not just do the easiest thing. Let's do the hardest thing, but that will create the best story. And as a disclaimer, a lot of the best people I know are dating and live together with their significant other. So it's not like your character is any less, or it's not like there's a problem.
That's why I said like morally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting thing because a lot of people that I look up to aren't exactly married and doing what I'm talking about. So it's just a crazy topic.
I think it's just everyone's just stands on it differently. But I am glad that we are just kind of waiting right now, and I think it's like definitely best for our situation and what we're going through.
For sure. So to answer the question, we've talked about it.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to get into...
One question was, how do you feel about Tyler's divorce?
Oh, yeah. So
how are you supposed to feel about that, I guess?
I know. Well, that was like one of the first things that you told me at the pool.
Yeah.
And so you were very open about it in our pickleball day. I forgot about our pickleball day. You talked about that.
Sports.
Yeah. I mean, am I allowed to kind of share a little bit about it, or?
Yeah, as much as you want. I mean, it's a
to
weird
me,
question.
To me, like divorce is obviously like not good and not ideal, but it's like when I heard your story, I was like, I just had a lot of empathy for you, and you know, Tyler's ex-wife is now gay, and so it was just like such a unique like situation for you. Like it wasn't like anyone cheated. It wasn't like this whole thing. You know, I feel like there's certain situations where if you would have told me like, yeah, I cheated on my wife, that's why we like got divorced. Yeah, that's like maybe a red flag. But that wasn't the case.
The issue wouldn't be the divorce. The issue would be the cheating.
Right, exactly.
So that's why it's like a weird question. It's like, I feel like the question should be like, now knowing why Tyler got divorced, you know, how do you feel about Tyler for the reasons you got divorced?
To me, it's like, it doesn't, to me, this is going to sound kind of weird. Like, to me, it's a green flag because you were in a committed marriage for 6 years. So I knew that you had that in you to like you wanted to be and like even hearing you say like I want to be married again, like I think I pried at you a little bit in the beginning where I was like do you want to be married again? Like, is that something that you want?
A lot of people are bitter.
I wasn't sure where you stood on marriage again because I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to be married again, that's something you need to tell me because I want to get married.
Told her, I was like, are you straight? We're good.
yeah, we're good. Okay, good.
My only question.
I do like guys, I promise.
You got your shit figured out?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like for me, like this is what I told my family verbatim. I was like, to me, it's a green flag because you know how to like treat a woman and you were in a committed marriage.
And I never talked bad about my marriage either. Like I had a beautiful marriage and it was the best thing. And that's why I still idolized, the marriage because like I was like, we had a home, pets, great jobs. Everything was just like what people would dream their marriage to be, but like we were talking about earlier, life happens, shit hits the fan and you got to pivot. And that's just what I had to do. And then I was very honest with you about what I had to do. And, and like we were talking about earlier about, you have to wash your thoughts and you have to look back on your past and just think about, okay, how does the Lord view this? How does the Holy Spirit see this? And
I feel like you just went, like, to me, a guy who's never like dated anybody, I'm like, no, go date before you get with me. Do you know what I mean? Like you've been through enough like relationships to know like what works, what doesn't. You know a lot about yourself. And like
I got a 5-week speed dating course too. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. $10.99 on my Instagram. You're like selling like this. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the dating show I went on.
Oh, I took that so wrong.
No.
But I was thinking you just got married so young too that it's like that. I don't know. It would be another thing if like you were 37 years old and you know what I mean? Like you were 18 when you got married.
Yeah, and that's why I had the perspective I did about marriage beforehand about like if I would have waited and been like, okay, this is what I want my marriage to look like, if I would have waited and addressed certain personal issues, and obviously she needed to address certain personal issues, would have saved us a lot of, issues.
Right,
exactly. If that was the end prize instead of, hey, this is just really easy. We're 18. Let's get a tax break here. Let's do this. But no, and I really appreciate how you just kind of view my divorce or my marriage as a green flag.
Yeah.
I guess the divorce too, but
I mean it is. Okay. So next question. Did you watch T.I.? There's lots of stories out there.
T.I., what's T.I.?
Wait, you were on a TV show?
Me? No.
You?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it must have been some other guy.
Nah, yeah, I was. I mean, we've already kind of brought that up quite a bit.
We did.
Yeah.
So
that's a loaded question there.
It is a loaded question. Do you want to take it on first?
Yeah, I mean the TV show in general, it's so weird because I do want this conversation to be about our relationship and just kind of where we stand, and this has been a huge part the past couple weeks. But in my life was kind of crazy because I went through, the divorce. I got into a situationship. Whole life got turned around, and then I just stopped life for 5 weeks, went to Hawaii to film a TV show, came back, and then life continued. And so like 0.0001% of my character identity life is this TV show.
Right.
But it's 100% of everyone else's view of my life. And
like that's all they see. That's all they know.
And it makes sense. And like you're in the public image for a reason, and all of their judgments and views of you is based upon just what was captured in that 5-week bubble. And the experience was great. Like I needed the experience. It let me get out of the relationship I was in, and I'm sure we'll talk about this all at another time. But great experience. I was so happy for it. I told you about it right away, literally the day I met you.
Yeah.
And the only thing that kind of caught me off guard is I thought since I told you that I was on a TV show, and I was 100% honest with you about what happened and everything that went down, I thought that that gave me a pass, being like, you can't get
Yeah.
angry about me, about like stuff that happened on the TV show. You can't get angry about what other people say. Like, essentially, you knew what you signed up for dating me. So get ready for it. But as soon as the show came out and I saw the emotional impact that it had on you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so unhealthy for you being in a relationship to watch scenes of me being
Yeah.
intimate with someone else or hear these crazy stories about being
Mm-hmm.
with someone else. And then you getting sent messages online, you getting sent videos, even a couple weeks ago, me going on a podcast, having to confront my ex. Like, that is all unhealthy. Like,
Yeah.
it is the epitome of unhealthy.
Yeah.
And, there was a little bit of frustration that we had because, you didn't want to let it impact you,
Yeah.
but it was. And then at first I was like, well, we talked about it, but, it was just so unfair for you. And, we've worked through a lot of that. But the show was positive and great. The online trolling and cyberbullying and other people's opinions really didn't affect me at all until it started to
Yeah.
affect you. And then I'm like, oh no, this is actually real. This is a real problem here. And that just kind of brings us to the present moment,
Yeah.
because we built our relationship in private for months offline. It was so real. Like,
Yeah.
we built something and we were ready to come out and show that to the world. But then it was like, uh-oh, the world views this
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
different, and it was a shit show,
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just the hardest part for me was that we did spend so much time building our relationship, this like super intimate, beautiful relationship together offline. We were like, it was like a really special time for us. Like, I look back at our time and like get emotional because I'm like, we like really just like built something so real, and then it just seemed so unfair that as soon as we're public, and of course, like, I had a large I have a large following, so like there was like also that part where I'm like, okay, I want to be sure that this is my person before I share him with the world, because there's like, that can be messy being in a public breakup. So there was that piece, and then there was the show piece, and so then it was like, people don't like, I think that's just where the anger came, was like, people don't even know the half of it, like who you are, who I am, and what we have and what we've built offline. And now all of this is in my face. Like, that's just so unfair.
It is. And I think, just to piggyback off that, I'm probably speaking to any guys listening to
Yeah.
the podcast, like, your girl needs to feel special. Like, they need to
Yeah.
feel loved. They need to feel like they are number one, that, especially over any exes, like, that's even stupid to bring up. Like, you are like, she needs like to feel like the prize. And that's kind of how we built our relationship, is you felt that way. You felt loved. You were the prize, the center of attention, in a good, healthy way, as you should. But then as we got excited to be public, and then it felt like, I'm putting words in your mouth, but for you, it probably felt like everybody else was more important. All my exes were more important. All my exes were getting all these views, and especially this is your job online.
Yeah, and they're capitalizing on things, and I'm just sitting here like, all right.
But you're the prize,
Right.
and you know that you're the actual reality. The reality TV stuff isn't real. And so that, for me watching that for you, because I was like, I knew that you didn't feel special. You didn't feel like the center of attention. You kind of felt like you were like, second in line. And that,
Yeah.
and again, that made us get back to work. And we
Yeah.
had to have in-depth, serious conversations about like, hey, this is how we need to view this. This is the reality of it. But that was not fair for you. And that's the only thing I do really mainly regret,
Yeah.
or what I would have done differently, is somehow figuring out a way to protect you from feeling those feelings,
Yeah.
But it
and
happened.
It did.
Yeah.
And I think like, thank you for saying that. That
Yeah.
was sweet. And I think, it's just, it's like, we knew it was like, we knew it was coming we were like, it's coming, it was like this thing looming over us. It's coming. It's coming.
Like, what's coming? We don't know, but it is.
Yeah. Like, it was just like looming over us. And, No matter how much you can prep for something like this, you just can't, because and I think that's where we had a very unique situation, because we had this like super strong real relationship, and I knew that I wanted to spend my life with you, but then all this is happening. And so I think we got really good at giving each other grace through that process, because I was like, okay, this is like our first time both going through this, and there's weird emotions coming up in me. I'm getting good about communicating that with you, and vice versa. Like, I do feel like there was a lot of good that came out of it.
It's all good now.
Yeah.
And we've kind of spun it. But it kind of brings me to another question that was asked, was like, how much of what was on the show was edited or manipulated? And then also, do you feel like you were portrayed accurately or not? Mm-hmm. And I think I can answer this really shortly. I had a conversation with the lead producer. She is amazing. She's great. She was with me through the whole process, and we had a phone call as soon as the show came out, and she did all the final edits on the Netflix show. And so she pretty much has final say. And she felt bad for me, because she was like, hey, obviously I know your story. I know the truth about everything, but we're filming a freaking TV show. So the worse we can make you look in a certain way,
or even like lack of sharing information.
That's what she said. She says, as much as the producer is thinking about what to share, more so they're thinking about what not to share, because they want the viewer to fill in those gaps and go online, ask questions, be like, this isn't adding up. And she did that beautifully with my storyline, because none of my story was in there. Like, people walked away, thought I was a compulsive cheater, broke, living at my girlfriend's house, which is, it's just all blatant lies. But when you watch the show, it does make for a better TV show. So just to answer that question, it's not like none of it is really, there is some truth, but how much can be true without the full truth? Let's just say that. But so,
I feel like there's a lot of like context that wasn't shared, which again.
But we have our friends. I have my family friends. I have Lauren. Like that stuff never really bugged me. You know what I mean? I don't really care what people think.
Yeah.
Or what they think they know. So it's not really a problem. But if you go on reality TV, you're not gonna walk away.
Yeah, because people have their opinions of you no matter what. And I think that's why it's like, we kind of talked about that this morning. Like, no matter what you say to even backtrack something, like no matter what, people are gonna have their opinions. And I think at the end of the day, what matters is what, not to be spiritual here, but like what God thinks of you, what your people around you that actually care about you think about you, and who is rooting for you. Because I feel like we have a really good group of like awesome friends in Nashville that have been like so supportive and like rooting for us, and like that has like helped me so much. And just like having God at the center of our relationship is like honestly like what got us through, because I'm like, okay, well, what's really happening here? What really matters? What does God say in this? And like I've had to lean on my faith a lot through this process, and I know you have, and we've prayed together about things, so I think it's just like that's made us stronger.
And I think that's what being a believer is, because everybody has their opinions.
Yeah.
Is it the opinion that matters?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you're getting all this hate and all this other stuff, and then you have to ask yourself, am I actually that important? Is it egotistical of me to get offended right now? To think that I'm actually important and I needed to defend myself? Like, you're not that important. You know what I mean? And I had a lot of those thoughts, through this process, being like, what opinions do I actually value, and am I actually important? Because obviously getting off the TV show, you have a really good opportunity to think highly of yourself. You know what I mean? And I've seen that in a lot of the cast members, boast themselves up, and then it wasn't what they thought is, and then they're destroyed. You know what I mean? Because they were banking on, how do I say this nicely? They thought they were the shit. You know what I mean? you're just really, most people are not the shit.
It's like you're really not the shit.
And that's how I feel. Just a lot. Like, obviously, I love myself and I value myself, but like, I know that I'm not the pinnacle of what you know, the human should be, at least not at 27 years old. So it's just like, all right, get back to work, you know, don't value the opinion, get back to work, get your to-do list, move on, you know, and here we are doing that thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like you did a really good job of like bouncing back from all that and like being like, okay, well, this is like my life. This is real life. Like this is not real. Everything that's happening is not real life. And you did a really good job being like, come on, snap out of it. Like we're here now, we are moving on, you know? And I think that's what we're doing right now is we are moving on. We are like just living our lives.
and to the next question is, you know, what is the biggest lesson you learned?
Yeah.
And I think I'm in the middle of learning that lesson right now. Like,
You are,
like
yeah.
literally, and the lesson essentially is praying for those who persecute you. Because I have never had to deal with having enemies before, or people actually just saying shit to me, and just I've never had to deal with that, you know, especially on a public view. And obviously, seeing some of these videos and what people are saying, like your heart can get so jaded and nasty and angry. And then obviously we open up the Bible and do our Bible study, and then it's like, oh, those are the people that you actually pray for. Not pray for in a sense of, oh, God help them, they're so you know, effed up and horrible. You intercede, you like pray as if
on
you,
their behalf.
being like, bless them, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like
help them.
help them. Like, it's how you would pray for yourself is how you're supposed to pray for them. So, and that's just a daily practice, or quote, my lesson I'm learning right now. If I feel that within myself that I'm getting angry, that I see something, I'm like, oh, I know immediately what to do now, you know, is to pray for them. And so, but that is, excuse my language, but that's a bitch right now, you know, but.
And I mean, that takes a lot of maturity and just like growth in itself. But
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we'll move on. I know we're kind of like, this is like a long episode, but it's good. Well, most of my episodes are like 30 minutes because it's just me yapping. And now I got another person here.
Got another pro yapper.
This one is a pro yapper.
I'm holding back.
No, he really is. He really is. Okay, the next question was,
I guess we can end.
We'll end with this.
Because it's
I feel like this is all kind of like all in one. Do you keep God at the center of your relationship? If so, how? And how long does it take to build trust in a relationship? So maybe we can just kind of.
And then the last one.
The last one is advice on dating a non-believer in Christ.
Keeping God at the center of your relationship. Okay. And then I think also dating a non-believer. Okay.
Yeah.
I hate to pull a Jordan Peterson here. But
it's not going to work if one person is a believer and the other isn't.
It's more of like defining terms of what is a believer. Like, what is believe? If you actually believe in something, it's not a thought, or, you know, it's not a label. Belief is a lifestyle, a practice, a work, meaning when you think about your diet, you think about God. When you think about your relationship, when you think about how you text people, when you think about, like, true belief is a filter. It means that everything that happens in my life and in my mind has to go through this small filter, this narrow gate. You know what I mean? And so when you're asking, dating someone who doesn't have that filter, is it possible? Yes, but when your whole entire life flows through this filter of you know, of God or belief, you know, and then someone else doesn't. So I don't think it's about being a believer or non-believer. I think it's about your value system and your high, you like that.
Yeah, your higher power.
Yeah, your higher power, because everybody has a God. No, whether they believe in God or don't believe in God, God in someone's life is just what they put at the top. And that could be their job, that could be whatever, you know. And so everybody has a God in their life. And so when you meet someone and you start dating them, you very quickly find out what is their God. What do they think about when they make their decisions? Do they think about their job? They don't do this because it gets in the way of this. They don't do this because it gets in the way of this. And so, you know, and I think in general, that's why I think obviously the one true God is just the highest level of good in every single like area of your life. So dating a non-believer, you know, it's gonna be difficult. But it's more so can you date somebody that really doesn't think and filter like you? Probably not.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. The one thing I will say is I mean, I grew up in church and they talked about this all the time growing up. And I think just the older I get, I'm like, what it comes down to for me is you can't love someone if you're not receiving love if you're not receiving love vertically. How are you supposed to love someone horizontally?
Yeah, that's good.
Like, you can't, because you will burn out. You can't give out of a empty cup. And like, for me, it's like, yeah, you can try to get your purpose in life and your love in life and all these things from horizontal things like your friendships or work or just purpose and all these other things. But it doesn't, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of moments where I get at the end of my rope with things. Like, I certainly am not perfect. And I feel like there's times where I do, like all of us do, we're all human. We look to other things to like fill us up. But at a certain point, you do come to the end of your rope and you're like, you just break down and you ask God to fill your heart with the holes that are missing and to come into brokenness in maybe your family or your thought patterns, or like just like filling in the gaps that your significant other can't. And it just makes for such a more beautiful relationship with your significant other, because you can't and then it's also just like I feel like with you, we're both like running a really fast race together. They always like said this analogy in church where like if one person's like running faster than the other, like that's not going to work either, because you're on a mission to do something and like
that one's debatable to me, but
no, it's not.
We're about to fight.
It's not debatable because it's true, but
I have a few logical things.
No,
what you're saying, there is a lot of truth to what you're saying. Yes,
But I think I'll just end with, also too, I think like this is like kind of pivoting, in every woman, there's this desire to be led by a man, and like to me, like a man of God and someone that can intercede and like pray for you and like guide you when you're like breaking down is like really important too. And so like to me, if you are dating somebody, if you're a girl that's like maybe believes in God and your boyfriend doesn't, and he's just floundering, he doesn't have an anchor to help you or guide you.
Yeah, it's tough. My closing thought about this is I have a lot of men that I look up to that don't believe in God. They have a value system that is beautiful. They don't label themselves as Christians, but yet they're loving, they're kind, and it's very interesting because, obviously God is very mysterious, and a lot of people on this planet haven't been introduced to the Bible or, the God, Jesus Christ and things, but God speaks in so many different ways. So you'll meet somebody that doesn't believe or anything, but yet God speaks to them, and and somehow, some way, they are this amazing, loving person that hasn't been like introduced the same way you have. So it's very interesting that you can meet people that are so full of God and goodness that got there, and through the back door, some through other way, and they don't proclaim Jesus Christ as their Savior and stuff. And we're not going to really get into that, but it, just as a disclaimer, it's just so interesting how you can be like, yeah, you need to have, a similar race, you need to have similar filters, similar beliefs, but there are, endless great people out there that, aren't believers that I look up to, and they're not even a believer, and they do life way better than I do, and they're more generous than I am.
Totally,
so it's just so
I know what you're saying.
interesting. It's just so interesting. And I just wanted to open it up at the end, just being like, it's just so funny. And I think that a lot of people because prayer to me is just getting into a moment where you're saying, I don't have the answers. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to open myself up.
Yeah, it's just like a humble approach.
And there's
life.
people that do that, then they don't pray to God, but they're so humble and they live a lifestyle of prayer and they don't even know it, and we talk about it in church terms and everything. So it's just very interesting. And I think that's one of the situations where a non-believer can date a believer because their value systems are very similar, but their
Yeah.
terminology is so different. And some people talk about the universe and have all these different terms. So I think there are a lot of situations where you can date a non-believer, but they still have to be a good person, and have this value system. And I think God will, two will become one later on down the road. But I think that's the purpose of dating is like, hey, this is a great guy, but he's not a Christian. Okay, but what makes him a great guy is probably because he has a lot of values that a good, quote, Christian man would have. So it's just a really good conversation topic.
I mean,
But-
you're getting real like Jordan Peterson on me right now.
I'm
I feel
sorry.
like you're
Yeah.
like wanting to debate this, but I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I do feel like God does speak. You're so correct in the sense of like God does speak to everyone so differently.
Yeah.
And that's why I really love my friend Tara because she has like all these perspectives on God that I would have never thought of.
Yeah.
But she thinks of God as like just he's all around us. He's not like I feel like in church they make God and Jesus seem like I don't know, just he's just over here. But no, like God's
This
just
little
all
religious
around.
box.
He's
Yeah.
all around us and he's everywhere and he's everything and he's and like I don't know. There's no like rules to this,
Yeah,
I
long
guess.
story short, I have no idea what I'm saying.
Yeah, we both don't.
We'll figure it out. We're just
We both
talking,
don't know what
we're just yapping about it.
Okay,
no.
but okay, let's end with how do we keep God at the center of our relationship?
You want to start?
I'll start. One thing we do, I feel like we both just value our time with God like every day. Like we are both very diligent in spending time in the Word and journaling and just like doing like inner work. And so I feel like we're both very committed to growth and like being better. And so we'll always like talk to each other about what's going on or what we're learning or like something we thought about today that stood out to us. And I feel like we're just always kind of like bringing it back to God. And you do a really good job of that in our relationship. Like you will always, if I have like an insecurity that I come to you about or something that I'm battling, like you will always bring it back to God and like what he says about something or what, like you just always bring it back to the truth of the matter.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. Because like, okay, the question is, do you keep God at the center of your relationship? If so, how? Okay, being at the center of something, it's just the main topic. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So life happens. So if you look at your relationship and you find your conversations or your emotions and everything ends up revolving around work or whatever,
Yeah.
that's when work becomes the center of your relationship or finances or whatever. So it's just a daily ritual practice of, hey, let's get everything on the table. Let's put God literally at the center and, and work through this. That's just, and prayer, would say is the main way we do that is we pray together.
Yeah, we pray together. a
Especially
lot.
at the end of the night because
Yeah.
it's just like,
We do that a lot. I
Yeah.
think that's like one main way we always will like, or you'll ask how to pray for me or vice versa. We'll always pray together, and that really helps us like just stay grounded.
that's it. I mean,
That's the tea, you guys.
I could yap about that for
Yeah, we could
hours.
yap for that for hours, and we have been yapping way too long. But this has been so beautiful and
It's
fun.
been so good to see you in your little
in my
podcast bubble here.
know.
It's very beautiful.
I know.
I now see the behind the scenes.
I was so nervous when I came in here, all the lights and the cameras. Tyler and I always have these like deep conversations, but it's always just different when you're like
in
mic'd
a
up.
dark room. Yeah, no, but yeah. But this is easy for me.
No,
I've been through it.
You were nervous when you came in too, I could tell. But no, thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Would love to hear feedback, and I'm sure we will yap some more another time.
Mhm.
But yeah, thank you for coming in, Tyler.
Of course, babe. Love being here. Thank you.
All right. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.